Hello and welcome to another year in Trig and Advanced Algebra. We'll be using Screencast this year to just kind of go over some concepts that you may have had before. And so today, this is section P-1. I want to review three quick concepts with you. Number one, I want to remind you of the distance formula and how and why we use it. Number two, I'd like you to think with me a little bit about midpoint. And number three, I'd like to review the equation of a circle and what we can learn from that. These are the three sections that you will use this evening as you look at your assignment. So let's go quickly to the first. If you have a coordinate graphing system, you have 2 points in any quadrants. Let's take a point right here. Let's give that one 2 positive coordinates, 3, 6. And then you have one, let's say down here in the 4th quadrant. This is at 1, -3. If you want to know the distance between those 2 points, you're of course talking about straight line distance, you can use a distance formula. The distance formula is derived from the Pythagorean theorem. The distance is equal to the square root of x1 minus x2 squared plus y1 minus y2 squared. Now, in this particular example, sorry, I've run that off the page. Now, in this particular example, we would say the square root of, and it doesn't matter which point is x1 and x2, so let's just take 3 and 1. Those are our two x coordinates. And so let's just subtract 3 minus 1, or 1 minus 3 squared, plus our two y coordinates are 6 and -3. I'm going to say minus -3 or plus 3. The distance between these two then is 2 squared, which is 4, plus 9 squared, which is 81, which is the square root of 85. Now, since 85 is 5 times 17, we will leave that in simplest radical form. If your book calls for it, you can approximate the value of that. I don't have a calculator handy, so I'm going to guess approximately 9.2. Now let's go back. I'm going to pull this down just a little bit, and the good thing about these videos is you can stop them at any time, go back and play again if you want to listen to an idea again. But I'm going to go back. I'm going to slide this down just a little so you can go back to my drawing. Now if you were looking at this and you've forgotten the distance formula, let's go back to geometry a little bit and tie in something that will help us. If you had forgotten the distance formula, let's say you were having a moment where you couldn't remember if it was x minus x squared or x plus x squared, and you just couldn't remember, what you could do is go back to this picture and watch what I'm going to do. I'm going to drop a perpendicular line and a parallel line to the x-axis. So what I've done here is basically I've made a triangle, and I'm going to put a dot right there. So I've dropped straight down from the uppermost point and come straight across from the lower. And this point right here, which I've just made up, is the point 3, -3. In other words, I finished a triangle, you see? So the distance here is from 6 to -3 is 9. The distance here from 1 to 3 is 2. And if you remember the Pythagorean theorem, a squared plus b squared equals c squared. Remember, this is a right angle because we made it be so. Then you could say 2 squared plus 9 squared, which is 4, plus 81, which is 85, is equal to c squared, and c is equal to the square root of 85. Now, a lot of our push this year is going to be to prepare you for the ACT, and I know some of you don't prepare as much as you should, so this is a good thing to remember. If you forget the distance formula, you can always use the Pythagorean theorem if you create a right triangle. Okay, let's move on. We're going to move as quickly as we can so we can get these three ideas in. Let's talk about midpoint. If you have that same coordinate graphing system and you have a point over here, let's call that one -4, +3, And let's say you have a point up here. Let's call that about 6, 7. And you look at the distance between those two, not a line, but just a segment between those two. It is not hard for you to envision a midpoint, a point literally in the middle, a midpoint. Now, to find the midpoint is just like finding the average when you've had 2 test grades. You're going to add them up and divide by 2. So we're going to take our 2 x's, which are -4 and +6, and we're going to add those together and we're going to divide by 2. And that is 2 divided by 2, which is 1. Then we're going to take our 2 y's, they're 3 and 7. We're going to add them up, divide by 2, and that's 10 divided by 2, which is 5. So this tells us that this point is actually the coordinate point 1, 5. That is called the midpoint. Now, let me show you a way that you can check this, because we're going to do this intuitively too. It is from -4, 3 to 1, 5 is over 5 and up 2. So I'm going to say +5 plus 2. Over 5 up 2. It should be also over 5 up 2 to get to this next point. And you can see from 1 to 6 is 5, and from 5 to 7 is 2. So both these points, over 5 up 2, over 5 up 2. Now, sometimes this is a help if you forget the midpoint formula. People forget it all the time. Let me write it for you here. X plus X over 2, any order. Y plus Y over 2. Think of it as averaging, like averaging grades. But if you forget the formula, you can kind of eyeball it. How far is it from, let me go again. Let's draw this again. I'm going to sketch it right up here. Pull this down a little bit. We started with this problem. We said if we were at -4, +3, which is right there, and we were at 6, 7, which is up here, and we wanted to find the midpoint, what you could do is say, all right, well, let's talk about how far the points are apart. So from -4 all the way to +6 is a distance of 10. And from 3 up to 7 is a distance of 4. So if we want to find the point in the middle, we just take half of that, over 5 of the 10 and up 2. So over 5 would put you at 1, and up 2 would have put you at 5, and that will also give you the point 1, 5. So that's another way to think of it. Again, we're trying to remind ourselves of ways to jog our memory when we forget these things when we're in a testing situation. Okay, that's midpoint. By the way, each of these lessons will be limited to 15 minutes, so I'm going to be kind of speeding through, but remember you can watch at home several times if you want to, so that'll be easy. All right, here's our third and final idea for today, section P1. Let's talk about a formula for a circle. X minus h, the quantity squared, plus y minus k, the quantity squared, is equal to r squared. This is the standard form of a circle. Here's what you need to remember. The center of said circle is the point HK. The radius of a circle is r. Now, I'm going to show you 3 quick problems about circles. Problem A. You can be given the center. Let's just make up a point, -2, 5. And you can be given the radius, 6. And you can plug right into this formula, just x minus -2, which is +2 squared, plus y minus 5 squared equals 36. Okay, so you need to be able to go from here to here, or vice versa, back and forth, back and forth. Okay, second thing, you could be given a different version of this problem, such as the center of the circle is at 2, -1, and a point on the circle is at 3, 3. Okay, now, in these cases, I think it's good to maybe sketch so you can visualize a little bit. So let's put our center at 2, -1, and let's put a circle point at 3, 1, 2, 3, 3. So what you can imagine is, here is a pathetic picture of the circle. Sorry, it's late, I'm tired. Okay, so there's our circle. Now what we know is that this is the center, and this right here is the radius. So what we've got to do, remember our lesson, we're talking about 3 things. We're talking about distance and midpoint in circles. So what we need there is the distance between these 2 points. So let's go over here to the side and say the distance would be, and let's do 2 minus 3 squared plus -1 minus 3 squared. That's -1 squared plus -4 squared, and that's all under a radical. 1 plus 16, radical 17. Okay, now that we know, so this is the distance, but I'm also going to put a little note to myself, this is the radius. So now that I know the radius is the square root of 17, go back to the question, which was to write the equation. How about x minus 2 squared plus y plus 1 squared equals, and then when we square the radical 17, we're just going to get 17. So this is our equation. So this is the basically the setup for tonight's assignment. These 3 ideas. Let me go over them again just very quickly with you. We have 3 ideas for section P1 that I'm going to hold you responsible for. The first is the distance between points. The second is the midpoint formula. And the third is the equation of a circle given points and a radius, or given enough information to find those things. Okay, these formulas are all found in section P1 in your textbook, along with some great examples. So what I want you to do each night is watch a little bit of this video so that tomorrow when we get to class you will have a better understanding of what our lesson is about. That's all for tonight. Have a great weekend, and I'll see you on Monday.